Hi everyone, I wanted to take you through a Windows 11 VM build quickly before we move on with the rest of the lessons and sort of the course. So one of the things that Windows 11, especially when building it in a VM, brings to the party is more security from the point of build. It has a secure boot and TPM checks. And when you're building in a VM, you don't necessarily have these enabled, and it's something that we have to bypass as a part of the build process. So that's what we're going to be doing together. I currently got a Windows 11, I've got a blank VM with a Windows 11 ISO attached. So I'm going to go from the point of installing the operating system all the way through and show you what errors you get and how to bypass them. I'm going to be using my commands on the left hand side, which are in the GitHub repository, and it's got quite clear direction on how to get into the registry and change certain bits and what we need to. So let's crack on. So at the minute I'm just going to prove that I've got my ISO attached. So removal devices, CD DVD, and then settings, and within here I've got my ISO attached, which is my Windows 11, and then press OK, and then I'm just going to reboot this and show you what error we do see. So hit any key, let me find it. Bad joke. So we'll wait for it to boot, we'll click install on the operating system, and then we'll get an error to say that our machine doesn't meet the minimum requirements for installing Windows 11. So the easiest way to bypass this is doing it from a USB or an ISO install. You can upgrade on the fly, but there are other ways to get around that if you're upgrading from Windows 10 to 11. But the easiest way is for bypassing this check, because this check is an option which isn't turned on in Windows 10, which can be turned on, but in Windows 11 it's been made to be turned on. So and this ISO I have got from the Microsoft ISO download itself. I had to sign up, and you get 90 days use out of that, providing it's non-commercial, and also it's more of the evaluation version. So I'm going to be, as soon as I've done this video, I'll be deleting the VM anyway. So cool, we get our languages, press install, take a little minute, it'll check what hardware we've got, and it'll say we don't meet the minimum requirements. We'll go back and we'll just simply follow these instructions on the left hand side of the screen. I've still got it in edit mode, so I can change things as I go along on my Git repository, and can submit that as required. So our Windows machine should say we don't meet the minimum requirements. So I'm just going to go back onto that, and then start at the top here. Press Control Shift and F10. No, it's actually just Shift and F10. See, just want to make sure we're right. Then go into your registry editor by typing RegEdit back into the VM. And within the registry editor, we have to make sure we are very precise with what we're typing, and the entries are correctly spelt, and it is case sensitive, and it certainly depends on where you're putting the edits themselves. So we're going to click on local machine, system, setup. So within this setup, we have to add our lab config key. Lab config added in, and we have to add in our two D words, which are bypass TPM check and bypass secure boot check. There is an additional one, which is bypass RAM check, which isn't really advisable, because that means you're not meeting the minimum standard of 4 gigs required to install a Windows operating system, because it has got GUI, does require a little bit more processing. So bypass TPM check, and then one more. Bypass secure boot check, and click on each one of these and set the value to 1. Cool. And then from this, we set it to 1, close RegEditor, close command prompt, and we should be away. And we see if it drops in. So there we go. We accept user agreement, having read it many times, get the operating system installed, and then we let it install. I'll fast forward to the video to show you how to add a user and then get it to the desktop. Brilliant, see you in a minute. So this is where we add our local user. So sign in options and domain join instead. Just adding a generic password in for now. We can always change it. This is the local administrator details we're currently adding in. So, don't worry, my nickname was Tom as a child, so that's sort of good. I'm just sort of flying through this just so we can actually get it to desktop. And then I'm going against all the generic useful defaults. And then it will say, oh, we're building this, we'll be back in a few minutes, and then I'll stop the video, come back, and we'll be at the desktop. So you can tell at the minute our Windows 11 machine's now building, checking all the drivers, and then we'll be at the desktop in now. So that's to the desktop. We can see we're using a 90-day evaluation until we probably connect to a Windows licensing server, or we get a valid license, and then that's us built with a local user only. We can see at the minute that we don't have anything on the desktop that highlights that we are below the minimum requirement, but if you do, I have added some notes here to say how to get rid of that. So we add another D word into that area, or that key in registry. So to do that, we can just go, we can bring it up from the start menu and back into the registry. So cool. So that's how you can do it if you're reporting on your desktop or it's a watermark that you're below the minimum requirements. So that's video complete. That's how to install Windows 11 using a secure boot check and TPM bypass. Thanks very much for watching.